Got good news in the technology sector of the market. It's been a long time. Twilio, well, officially ending that tech drought, that IPO drought. Risk and reward host Deirdre Bolton is here. And is this good news for the other IPOs, these tech IPOs that have been put on the shelf?
Everyone is going to be watching, Charles, because this is really the first one, the first unicorn. And you and I talk about that term all the time. But essentially, a private tech company worth $1 billion or more to go public this year. So as you said, I mean, it's been so sparse this year, right? We've been so hungry just to see companies come to market. A lot of them have said, like, I don't really want to file all the paperwork, deal with the SEC hassle. I get enough money from private investors. I don't need to go public. But Twilio, in its case, it wants to go public. It wants to raise its profile. And it's also doing a lot of bigger deals with a lot of other tech companies. So, for example, many people may not know Twilio itself, but if you take Uber, Twilio's software is essentially what allows you and the Uber driver to exchange text messages without them, for example, having your number. So Twilio is really the plumbing behind a lot of other Silicon Valley companies. But you started by saying, you know, is this good news? At least for Twilio, I mean, the price offering was moved up to about $15 a share. And that's higher than what most analysts were thinking of. So all I can say is it's going to be very closely watched.
And a 67% debut is not bad either. I mean, no. You'll get into the people who argue, well, sure, the investment bankers probably underpriced it. But I think there was enough anxiety out there. I mean, it's one thing to say we don't want to go public. It's another thing saying we're afraid to go public.
Right.
And that's existed this year as well.
It certainly has. And I mean, and we've really seen the markets take a big hit, especially at the beginning of this year. It was like the worst start to a year in decades. And oddly enough, there's even a lot of people in Silicon Valley who are watching the Brexit vote. I know we have all around the clock coverage, but to your point about markets volatility, not quite clear how that's going to go, how that's going to affect the market. So this year, it's true that people in the stock market have had to adjust to a lot of moving parts.
Also, you know, I think we've heard about some of these unicorns, because they're private, it's hard to get a handle on them, but some of them, their valuations are starting to come down just a little bit, or they're doing different things, taking different tactics to raise money. The spigots aren't as open as they were as these valuations have gone through the roof.
It's very true. And I think what maybe even the average investor doesn't realize is even if you or I, Charles, think that, okay, we're not in the private tech market, if you have a pension fund, guess what? You are, because T. Rowe Price, Fidelity, they have made these investments in these private tech companies, and exactly as you just said it, I mean, they've had to mark down, like, all right, we were a little overly optimistic about where this company could come to market and at what price. But that, I think, is why people are so focused on Twilio, because it actually does have a business model. It is worth noting, and I wrote this down, it said itself it's not profitable. Even when it filed to go public, it said, okay, we're not profitable now, but here are the companies and the contracts that are in the pipeline, so we should
They've got a path to profitability.
Yeah, and a proven
before I let
track
you go, then real quick, the tech market looks like it needs some new leadership, some fresh bodies, if you will. You know, the Microsoft group has gotten old, and now even the Apples of the world, outside of Facebook, maybe Amazon. Do you feel like there's got to be some fresh tech names out there to reignite the whole space?
I think everybody could use a little cash injection, but something that I am looking at in reference to Apple, for example, and you and I have spoken about this, where Apple is trying with services. Maybe they haven't created a gadget that you and I want to go out and buy tomorrow, but they're trying to addict us a little bit more, maybe with their services. GE, believe it or not, GE Ventures is backing a whole new slew of next-generation companies. So some of the older companies are doing it. They're just doing it through investment. But I'm ready for the next gen.
I think the stock market, they're looking for one of these names with long coattails. Maybe Twilio. It's not a household name now, but if it opens up 67%, it can become one. Thanks a lot, Deirdre.